Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money. With your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 206 of Screw the Commute podcast. We've got Adam Katz here. It's kind of funny his name is Katz because he does a lot of work with dogs, but we'll explain that to you later. But what I love about this guy is he won't let anything, including pain, stop him. Wait till you hear his inspiring story. Now, I hope you didn't miss episode 205 on e-courses. It was one of my Monday trainings where I give you something that's either made me a load of money or saved me a load of money. So it talked about email e-courses. Of course, on Wednesdays and Fridays, we do interviews with successful entrepreneurs like Adam. Now, I've got a quick announcement. Make sure you grab a copy of our podcast app. It's in the App Store. You can do lots of cool stuff conveniently right from your mobile device. You can download it from there, or you can go to screwthecommute.com/app. That's APP. And we have complete instructions and screenshots and everything to teach you how to use all the fancy features. So make sure you grab that. And as a thank you for listening, make sure you grab a copy of our ebook, How to Automate Your Business. Just one of the tips in this book has saved me, listen to this, over 7.5 million keystrokes. And that's really close to being accurate. And it's allowed me to handle up to 150,000 subscribers and 40,000 customers without pulling my hair out. And we sell this book for $27, but it's yours free thanks for listening to this podcast. And while you're at the download page, grab a copy of my what I learned over 120 quality podcasts. Now we're on 200 and some, but some people are charging you $4,000, $5,000, and $6,000 for this. So when you're on the download page, grab a copy of that too. And that's at screwthecommute.com/automate free. Screwthecommute.com/automate free. And of course, everything today will be in the show notes, including all Adam's great stuff. All right, our sponsor is the Internet Marketing Training Center of Virginia. It's a distance learning school which teaches legitimate techniques to make a great living, either working for someone else or starting your own online business, or both. Why not do both? I've been living this lifestyle since the commercial internet started in 1994, and it's the best business I've ever been in, I tell you that. So check it out at imtcva.org, imtcva.org. And if you know anybody in the military, we have big scholarships for military, law enforcement, and first responders. So just put a /military after the website. Of course, that'll be in the show notes too. And we are approved by the Department of Defense for a military spouse extra scholarship. So we really take care of our people that take care of us. All right, let's get to the main event. Adam G. Katz is the University of California at Berkeley. I think that's the Golden Bears, if I'm not mistaken. He's a graduate of that school, and he's a serial entrepreneur who has spent the past 20 years, listen to this, crippled by debilitating chronic migraines. You know, I've had a lot of those too, except they came from my customers.
That's good. For a minute there, I thought you were going to say from your ex-wife.
No, my ex-wife. No, she's dead. We killed her.
Oh.
No, I'm kidding. So he didn't let that stop him. He's owned more than 10 businesses and has self-published over, listen to this, 30 books, including 4 novels. So learn his strategies for picking the right business model to maximize your time and minimize your headaches again. So Adam, are you ready to screw the commute?
The commute.
The commute.
Only
right?
the commute, Tom.
Only the commute. All right. That's a good point. So great meeting you, sir. And we met through
Likewise.
our mutual friend, Nicole and Stefan Hubert.
Great folks.
They're my
Great
dog
folks.
trainers, and you've helped them tremendously, and they just can't say enough great things about you. So tell everybody what you're doing now, and then we'll take you back to see how you came up through the ranks.
Sure. I own a Google Ads management service. It's a 100% done for you. Google AdWords was what they used to call it. Management service. We take care of basically everything from soup to nuts. All you have to worry about is picking up the phone and talking, closing your clients when they call. And predominantly we focus on the pet industry, but not exclusively. And get into why. I've owned 3 dog training businesses over the years, as well as a online subscription based website in the dog training industry that went on to make us over $6 million. It did really well. I had one full-time employee and his wife who worked for us part-time handling customer service. And we were able to help a lot of dog owners. We had a free weekly dog training tip subscription, easing is what we call it, weekly newsletter that went out to over 70,000 dog owners.
Wow.
It was widely read. And it really gave us a chance to not only help a lot of dog owners and save a lot of dogs, but also make a really good living without having to, go into an office somewhere and sell our time.
You screw the commute, right?
Screw the commute, exactly. So I ended up becoming a millionaire by age 40. I'm 49 now. And that was not counting the house, which we've paid off free and clear. And my choice of business models has really allowed me to live abroad for several years, including 2 years in Costa Rica, where I met my wife, who's actually Colombian. And then we spent a year in Panama and a year in the Republic of Colombia. And we actually just got back this past February, spending a month in Medellin. So all because of, learning some very basic skills that relate to online marketing.
Well, they might be basic, but they're not necessarily easy, especially in the Google ad word. I mean, every time I check in, now you do it all the time, but every time I check in, the interface is different. It's figuring it out again.
Yeah, it's really talk about migraines. It's really something. People think it's a set it and forget it kind of deal where they could just set it up and check it once a month. And maybe if you're in a small market without a lot of competition, but in any somewhat competitive market, if you don't know what you're doing, you can blow through a lot of cash really, really quickly. But if you do know what you're doing, it can literally change your life. Gary Halbert, the famous copywriter, copywriting is the art of using persuasive text to get people to take action. And Gary Halbert was a master at that. He'd write these long form, what we call sales letters and magazine ads that would just get people salivating and saying, take my money. Well, Gary had this expression that was along the lines of you're only one sales letter away from changing your life. And in my experience, that's true. But in addition, you're really only one ad campaign away from changing your life, because if you hit on the right ad campaign and you can scale it, the sky's the limit.
That's for sure. But you're absolutely right about you can blow a lot of money too, because I've been doing this a long time, clear since when the pay-per-click started. And what I teach people now is they must, if they're going to try to do this themselves, and it's not easy, they must obsess on it, because I put an ad in on a Friday one time and got too busy. Came back Monday, I owed Google $8,000.
Oh.
And then another time I thought, I'm never going to let that happen again. So I paused an ad, and then I came back and I still owed him a bunch of money. And I called him up like mad at him. And I said, I paused this thing. And they said, no, you didn't. You just paused one part of it. So I had to pay him again. So it's really good to have somebody that really knows what they're doing and does this all the time, so those mistakes don't happen.
Yeah, I mess around with pretty much every type of online advertising there is, from email marketing to video marketing to Facebook to all kinds of different PPC. And still, I believe that for my money, the Google ad stuff gives you the best return on investment. It just gives you the best quality of lead. And I think the reason for that is because it's more of a pull medium than a push medium. In what I mean specifically is that people, they go to Google and they're actively searching for what it is that you have to offer. So they're proactively trying to find you. And so once they're doing that, you're simply just bringing them into your funnel, because you're pulling them into your funnel. Whereas a push medium would be something like TV ads or YouTube ads, where they're going to YouTube to be entertained and to watch videos, and not necessarily because they want your service, and then you're pushing your message to them. So in my experience, one of the strengths of Google Ads is that you're pulling rather than pushing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's totally true. Now, the other end of that spectrum, I have been teaching that I feel like one of the best bargains to start out with, that you can keep your cost really low and get your feet wet, are in-stream ads on YouTube. Because people can skip them. You can get a lot of branding for free if they hit the skip button, and things that would cost me $1.50 to $4 on a keyword on straight Google, I'm getting views for 4 to 7, 8 cents.
Cool.
So it's a good way to get your feet wet, and yes, it doesn't have the exact what you call. Which one is it? Push or pull? I forget.
Well,
but,
you're pulling with Google Ads, and you're pushing with
right.
Any type of scenario where they're not going to that medium to find you. So you're having to kind of push your message and interrupt them.
Yeah, you're interrupting them.
Right,
is what you're doing
right.
on that.
But bottom line is all of marketing comes down to testing different advertising mediums and finding out what works best for you. Because even with the same service in the same industry, we'll frequently find like one market just kills it with the same kind of ad, the same kind of offer, the same kind of everything, and then go into a different market that you would think would have similar demographics, and it just doesn't work. So yeah, if you're finding success with whatever it is you're doing, definitely keep doing it. I'm not knocking any of that.
That's the whole thing is you have to test, because as soon as somebody tells you absolutely this is the way to do it, that's when you run the other way. Because
right.
You just never know. People as experienced as you and me always get surprised on stuff that you thought would work and it just didn't work.
Right.
Some things you didn't even consider all started working on you. So,
and specifically like with your copy is persuasive text. I mean, you can write up an ad that you just think is going to kill it, and then it bombs, and then you can try something really stupid and you think there's no way this, or maybe you tweak just one word and suddenly an ad campaign goes from not working to working. So it's just you really don't know until you test the stuff.
Yeah, and I had a eulogy book. I've got about 18 books to my credit, and I tried everything under the sun for probably over a month, where I was getting ready to quit, and I wish I could remember, this is a long time ago, what I changed, and it went to $42,000 a year for 9 years straight.
Wow!
Yeah, so that's why no matter how experienced you are, you got to get that out of your head, the arrogance out of your head that you know what's going on. The customer or the market will tell you what's working.
Right.
You do a lot of split testing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, tell them about that.
So split testing in its most simple term or way of explaining it is what we call A/B testing. And there's other words. I think the expression is Tamagotchi. I may be mistaking that for a child's game. I'm not sure. But basically, you have an A and a B, and your A is your champion, and your B is your challenger. And so you, like, for example, if you're using a landing page software or service like Unbounce or ClickFunnels or any of the big one, lead pages, what they'll do is, let's say you send 100 visitors to your website. It'll show one page to the first visitor, and then a second page to the second visitor, and then the original first page to the third visitor, so on and so forth. And so it splits in half what your visitors are seeing. So 50% of your visitors will see the A, the challenge, the champion, and 50% will see the B. And then you're going to track that over a period of time to see which of the two wins. And so if your challenger say converts at 3%, and your champion converts at 2%, then now you have a new champion. So that becomes your A, and then you write a new B, and you keep testing like that until you just can't beat it anymore. And so we do that with our landing page copy. We do it with the ad copy. We do it with basically anything that we can, because that's how you get a really good response rate, a really good conversion.
Yeah, and I find that the mistake people make is that they don't track people all the way through to the money. So
Right.
they might get one sales letter that gets a higher conversion on the number of clicks throughs, but those people don't buy anything. So if they
Yes.
just stopped right there, they're going to throw away the good sales letter that's bringing buyers and keep the other one just because it's getting more clicks.
Yeah.
So they got to be careful and follow them all the way through.
One of the things that we do, I call our service a 100% done for you Google Ads management service. And one of the things that we do, one of the things that we don't do is that I don't co-manage the campaigns with the client. In fact, I jealously guard how we run the campaigns, from the keywords to.
You don't want them to screw it up.
Yes, and
I can say that.
All due respect. But, typically, a client might be really good at running a dog kennel. They might be great at training a dog, but they don't have anywhere near the experience or the education or any of it to be able to interpret the data. So they ask, questions like, well, how many clicks are we getting? And we look at it and think, well, how many clicks isn't really important. If I know I've got you looking over my shoulder, or any ad manager knows that he's got the client looking over his shoulder, and the client says, oh, how many clicks are we getting? That means clicks are important to the client. And I will tweak things to get you tens of thousands of clicks, but clicks do not equal sales. With
Right.
Google Ads, it's all about the quality rather than the quantity. So I'd be much more happy getting 3 clicks a day, and all 3 of those are clients with money in hand ready to spend $2,000 a piece, than getting 1,000 clicks a day and none of them want to spend any money. So it's really about the quality, not the quantity.
Do you try to explain that to them up front?
Yeah, I have a whole funnel. So by the time I get on the phone with them, they already know how I work, and they know what a pain in the butt I am, and how I'm quirky about this, that, and the other. And it's just, leave me alone. Let me do what I do best, which is running these campaigns. I've got to stop and I got to explain all the intricacies of, why this click-through rate's better than that click-through rate, and what search impression share means, and all this kind of. If I've got to stop and educate you, that basically means I got to hire somebody else to do that job. And that means that the price is going to go up. And if you want that, that's fine. Go get that. But, typically you're not going to get it at a budget price. And so what I've tried to do is I've tried to focus on just what's important, which is offering a superior Google ad management experience, where we're, what we're putting in is comparable to what you might normally pay upwards of $1,500 for, and doing it for typically around $499 a month rather than $1,500 a month. But you're not getting the hand-holding, and you're not getting the co-management and all those other things that some people want. So,
and I know that the people I know are just thrilled with what you're doing for them, because, and I know them personally. They're never in a million years going to figure out what you do, and would just spend a lot of money for nothing. So,
and nor should they. They're great dog trainers. They're great at running a dog training business. They shouldn't be messing around with, why is this click-through rate different than that click-through rate, and that kind of stuff. So there's really, in my opinion, 3 metrics that are really most important, which is how much am I spending on the campaigns, which is 2 things, both the ad spend budget and the management fee. How much am I spending? And then how many leads are we getting specifically from this ad campaign? And then once we know how many leads, from that we want to extract how many are we actually selling. And really those are the only 3 metrics when it comes to AdWords campaigns that most clients really only need to know. We'll deal with all the other hundreds of thousands of stuff that keeps me up at night and is the reason why I don't have any hair left anymore. That's what you're paying me for. So and that's tough.
And it's not really your fault if you send them good leads and they don't close them, because this is a whole holistic process. You could send them the best people in the world, and if they screw up the sales presentation, that's really not your fault.
Yeah, my problem is just getting these clients to answer the phone.
We
make the phone ring, but if you don't answer it, you're not going to sell, and the ad campaign's not going to be successful. So,
all right, so let's take you back a little bit. Did you ever have a job?
Yeah, I worked for, my parents had a sign and rubber stamp company when I was in high school, and so I worked for them making rubber stamps and helping them a little bit with their marketing when I was in high school. When I was in college, I worked for Bookstar, which was one of the predecessors to Barnes and Nobles. I also worked for the Mark Twain Project at Berkeley. I worked for an advertising agency as a creative coordinator, which was basically a copywriter. And I also worked for a marketing firm and a real estate marketing firm as well, basically a real estate sales firm. And that was through college. And that was enough to make me realize that if I have any choice in the matter, I really didn't want a job.
Right. And so how did you get started in a business of your own?
Well, I was a student at, like I mentioned, at UC Berkeley. And
is that the Golden Bears?
The Golden Bears, right? Oh,
I got to tell you a story about that. I went to college on a football scholarship.
Okay.
At West by God, Virginia. You got to say by God in for West Virginia. And so a bunch of hicks, basically. And so we go out to play the Golden Bears out at the University of California, Berkeley. And we were the West Virginia Mountaineers. And so we get no respect at all going out to University of California, Berkeley. So they have on the marquee on the scoreboard, it says the Western Virginia Coal Miners.
Oh,
wasn't even the name of our
They couldn't even get the name right?
No. And we won.
I don't know what that says about Berkeley, but I don't associate so much with that institution anymore. I'm probably one of the few who went into University of California, Berkeley, slightly left of center and then came out slightly right of center. If any of your listeners know anything about Berkeley, they call it Berkeley. It's one of the communist centers of the nation.
We've seen that the Antifa stuff over and over and over again.
Talk about anti-business.
Speaks there. So, but anyway,
anyways, so while I was at Berkeley, I became friends with a woman who ran basically a pro-Israel advocacy group, and I got very involved with that. And her husband, we were meeting one evening at their little condo that they rented, and the husband had this huge Rottweiler and a huge pit bull mixed type dog, and they were holding what we call in the dog training business a downstay. And I just thought it was amazing. I said, "What does this guy do?" And he was this Israeli farm boy who'd come to America. He could barely speak English, and he had this dog training business where he'd meet clients out at the local park. He had a little Nissan truck that he'd run his little dog training business out of. And again, this was probably 1992.
And you're not talking about that dog whisperer guy, right?
No. This was way before him.
Okay.
Way before him. But this Israeli fellow, his name was Alon Geva. He was charging $1,000 a dog, and he had more clients than he knew what to do with. He was turning people away. And I thought, this is amazing. This guy, he doesn't have to go into some office and wear a tie. He doesn't need a degree. He meets his clients at a local park, so he's outside breathing fresh air. They come to him and see him as the expert, right? They pay him to help with their problem, and he fixes their problem. And he doesn't need any employees. He doesn't need a facility. It doesn't really need anything. Of course, this is California.
Doesn't need a PhD.
Right. This guy could barely speak English. And I thought, wow, that's, not that I necessarily wanted to be involved with dogs for the rest of my life, but I thought, okay, this is something that I could always, if I learn it, I could always fall back on it. So, and that's kind of what got me started in
you
the dog training.
Apprentice for him, or you just started learning dog training?
No, I apprenticed with him for about a year, and he taught me about 80 to 90% of what I needed to know.
Is he still around?
No, he went back to Israel, and he's doing other things now. But really nice guy. But I didn't feel like I was getting like 100%. And so he had a book on his shelf it was written by a guy named Tom Rose, who had a kind of a school for dog trainers.
Right.
And I read that book, and I said, is this guy, what do you think of this guy? Is he any good? He said, yeah, he's a really good dog trainer. And so I ended up, after I graduated from Cal Berkeley, I went to the Tom Rose School of Professional Dog Trainers.
Oh, okay.
And spent a couple of months out there, kind of getting, the rest of what I felt I needed at the time. And then returned to California, went back to the Los Angeles area and started up my first of 3 dog training businesses. So that's kind of how I got into it.
All right. So how'd you transition that into running Google ads?
I'm going to take a long story and I'm going to make it really, really short because I know we're pressed for time.
Okay.
So I got really burnt out of training dogs. The dogs are great, but the people were driving me nuts, and you kind of get to a point where you kind of figure out the pet dog training stuff and you figure out the best way to explain it. And so I started, let me go back. So I was having a lot of success. This was before dog training became like an actual, career that most people realized they could actually make a living doing.
Mm-hmm.
And out of the back of my truck, I was averaging $8,000 to $9,000 a month just working at the local park, which I thought was amazing.
Right.
My best month, and back then it was, right. And I was, now dog trainers charge $1,000 to $3,000 or more per dog. And most of my programs actually averaged about $600 per dog. And so it was a lot of work. I got really burnt out. And so I started selling a course to teach other dog trainers how they can make money training dogs with their dog training skill. And that did really well. The course sold for $500 to I think $1,500, depending on what package you chose. Some of them had more consultations and stuff, some of them had less, and helped a lot of dog trainers get off the ground with their business. But what I realized was that there was a cap, at least at the time, because there simply weren't enough professional dog trainers. So I was making maybe, I don't remember, $1,000 to $1,500 a month, maybe $2,000 a month selling these courses. It was like a 3-ring binder. And it dawned on me that, I kept getting questions even from the other dog trainers on, how do I train this dog? What do I do? And it dawned on me that, there's a much bigger market helping dog owners rather than helping dog trainers. So I started originally publishing a monthly newsletter, and that did fairly well. And then after a year, I took all of those newsletter issues and put them into a book and started selling that book. And then the book, which was about 111 pages, became a 316-page book. And I was selling that for, I think, like $15 and doing all the shipping, and was selling 3 or 4 of them a day. So I was making, I don't know, $30 to $40 a day. And then wanted to bump up the perceived value or the actual value for that much of the product. So I recorded 5 audio interviews, kind of like what we're doing now, on various subjects of training a dog. And I packaged those 5 back in the day when we had cassette tapes with the book. And I included also a little floppy disk of links that was back in the day when you could sell them links to dog training resources and dog supplies and all kinds of stuff. So that bumped up the value, and a little card that they could put on the refrigerator that was like a reminder, for puppy training and stuff. And so I went from selling the book for, I think, $14.95 to selling that whole package for $50. But my cost didn't really go up that much, right? So I had maybe I don't remember, $1 or $2 in the book, and then after the 5 cassette tapes and the floppy disk, maybe I had $4 or $5 in costs. But now I was able to sell it for $50. And this was back in the day where you could take out an ad and the joke of the day email that was going out to like 300,000 people, and the ad would cost you like $60. It's just in the beginning of the internet. So to my amazement, I started selling, I kept selling the same volume, probably 3 to 4, maybe 5 a day. So I was making about $200, about $6,000 a month, almost as much as I was making with the dog training. And so from there, I recorded 5 different dog training videos and offered that as an upsell. So instead of just the $50 book with the audio tapes, you can also get my 5 VHS tapes as well. And that cost $150. So now I had a package where if I sold just 2 a day, I would be making $300 a day, which translated into about, $9,000 a month. But, some days I'd sell 5 or 6. And so I ended up pretty consistently making about $12,000 to $15,000 a month with that business model. In 2006, the internet started to change, and I was already starting to kind of transition into more wanting to sell digital products, because with digital, you don't have to deal with the shipping, and you don't have to deal with, I didn't get my product and all these other problems, or, all these different stuff. You're just selling basically ones and zeros. Electrons. Yeah. So we started doing that. And also I'd been having problems with my fulfillment house. It was kind of before Amazon. And so we made the switch to digital, selling digital products. And then in 2006, don't ask me why, but I had a friend of mine named Bill Myers who had developed this piece of software called MemberGate, and it was a piece of software that allowed you to run a subscription website. You can get
Yeah,
people.
I still have two or three of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Small
yeah.
world. But Bill's a great.
I know Bill.
Bill's a great guy. You guys are a
It's
genius.
Cold Fusion. It runs very stable.
Yeah. So I transitioned and I took all of the videos, the audio lectures, and the book. And at this point, I had written like 300 or 400 different articles, or I can't remember how many articles and stuff, and started doing the subscription website. And the cool thing about that business model is that you have recurring billing.
Right.
So you don't just sell them something once, you sell them something again and again and again until they cancel. So we were charging, we tested different price points over the year, but ultimately we were charging $37 a month, and they get access to all of the digital products and the videos and all that stuff, plus access to a discussion forum where they can ask questions and get answers from myself and other professional dog trainers. And if they wanted to maintain their membership, they just let it ride. And so we'd have people that would stay members for years. And so by I want to say 2000, I think it was by 2008. I want to make sure I'm remembering my numbers here. I think 2008 we did $81,000 in 1 month, and in March of 2000. Yeah, March of 2008, we did, I think, 83,000. And those were our best months. Most months were somewhere between 60 to 75 or thereabout. But
you're slacking those months, weren't you?
Yeah, right. just roughing it. But I had this business that basically I was able to run out of a laptop, and we lived in Costa Rica and Panama and Republic of Colombia, Bogota.
True lifestyle business. That's
right. So that was great. And a big part of that was Google Ads. And so eventually the online landscape changed as things do. And Google, for the type of website that we had, was really starting to cause a lot of problems for us. And the downside of Google is that they don't always apply their rules universally. So they were saying we couldn't do things, we couldn't say things on our website. Like, for example, I had a legitimate testimonial from the Dr. Phil show. They had called me up and they said, we have a guest who we want to get a personal protection dog for. Who do you recommend? And I was honored that the Dr. Phil show came to me, and they saw me as an expert. And so I put that testimonial up on the website, and one day Google said, nope, no celebrity websites. You have to document the celebrity testimonial. And, this was like 10 years later, and like the producer of the show didn't even work for him. She didn't even remember me. So it was like, and then they'd let our competition, who would use obviously fake made up testimonials that were so painfully, stupidly obvious. And they, no problem. Oh yeah, we're not going to give you a problem. We'll get around to you later. And then they just never would. I don't know. So it just got to be a very, very complicated business model. The landscape shifted. More and more professional dog trainers started getting online and offering their services, and things changed. So eventually that project, sunsetted. And also I have a short attention span. And so it really, all businesses to run over the long run require a lot of passion. And if you don't have just the passion for it, or if the passion fades after several years, you got to know when to kind of call it quits and move on to the next thing. But I had acquired all these skills, and one of those skills was, how to run Google Ads, how to track marketing, how to write copy, all this stuff. And I decided, what, I've got these local dog trainers asking me for help, and do you know anybody who can run a Google ad campaign? And when it comes to dog trainers, there's nobody who can run a dog training campaign better than I can. And so we kind of fell into it kind of after the last thing sunset. So that kind of leads me to where I am now.
Well, there you go. So tell us about this migraine stuff. I didn't know this about you, but I do know people that just can barely function when they have these. So
yeah, it's terrible.
Tell us about that.
It's terrible. So in 1999, I started having these terrible migraine headaches that would just, last from a day to several days. And after years of trying both mainstream as well as alternative medicine, everything under the sun, nothing really worked. And so one of the things I had to do with my business was I had to make businesses. I had to make sure I was picking business models that I wasn't trading time for money. I needed to be trading knowledge or skills or an outcome for money, because I needed to be able to work when I could work and be able to do other things when I couldn't work because of the migraines.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I've been fortunate enough to be really good about time management and making sure that I get done what I have to get done, when I can. And then when I can't, either just having a business model where it doesn't matter, or having, bringing on board staff that can kind of carry the weight when you can't.
So
I've
this
been
is still going on.
still going on. Yeah. There's no
Wow.
cure. There's no cure for my kind of chronic migraines. So
My
every time
goodness.
there's a weather change, I'm in pain. Now, sometimes the pain, sometimes I can work through it. Sometimes I can even go out to dinner or whatever and just not having a particularly good time, but I can still function. But then there's other times, fortunately, much less frequently, where it's just, level 10 and you are on your back. So yeah,
My
it's
goodness.
it's been a curse, but it's also been a blessing, because it's been something that has forced me to be very careful about the type of businesses that I involve myself in.
Right. Because you can, nobody's going to know the difference if you're taking a nap one time with this kind of model. So
Yeah, I mean, with the current business, I've got one primary fellow who's also an excellent AdWords manager. I mean, he's like a top tier agency level AdWords management guy. And his Achilles heel is that he's some would say he's got a little bit of an abrasive personality. He doesn't work well with others. We work well, great. And I don't require him to come into the office. He doesn't have to put on a tie. If he wants to do his work in the middle of the night, he can do his work in the middle of the night, as long as the work gets done. And we get along great. And so because of that, I pay him well, but I don't pay him as well as he should be getting paid. But then if he were getting paid those kind of levels, he would have to be going into an office and wearing a tie,
yeah, right.
and not be a night owl and have to work during the day. So it works really well. And because of that, I get somebody who's really excellent to help me run these campaigns, and then a couple of support staff people too, to kind of crunch, data and keep things organized for us.
Yeah. So we call that they don't have a good website manner instead.
Yes, like bedside manner. Exactly. And he's fine with that. He's like, he'll help me run the back end stuff, track the analytics and, run the campaigns and I do too. But then he doesn't want to have anything to do with talking to clients or any of that. So I'm kind of the upfront face of it.
Yeah, and this is the perfect. I mean, online stuff is perfect if you don't like people,
right?
because
especially the info products.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, if you do, you can accelerate things because people will love you and they love dealing with you and they'll spend more money with you. But you don't have to at all. You can be totally anonymous. There's an old speaking of dogs. There's a famous New Yorker cartoon where there's two dogs sitting in front of a computer and one dog's typing away and the other dog says, hey, what's up with that? And he said, well, hey, it's a computer. They can't tell I'm a dog.
Right.
So tell people how do they work with you? How does it go?
Well, really my marketing funnel right now is primarily set up for people who own a pet industry type business, dog trainers, doggy daycare, boarding kennels. But really, we can run campaigns for anybody with basically a local business and or appointment driven business. So I even though originally my background was e-commerce and selling info products online, I'm not set up. I don't have the systems in place to do that. I have the systems in place to get local businesses, clients, local appointment driven businesses, clients.
Yeah, because a lot of the same ideas are in place. But, when you have a certain market that you dominate, everything's easier. You've been through it 1,000 times. So you don't get surprised.
Yeah, not only that, but like I think I was telling you off air, one of the competitive advantages we have from, servicing multiple clients in the same industry but in different markets is that we can run something that's called what's called a shared negative keyword list. So if we
Mm-hmm.
see a certain search, like, we have a pet dog training client in Miami who doesn't do police dog training, and we're advertising for the word dog training, and we see somebody does a search for police dog training, and we know from experience that if your ad comes up, even though your ad doesn't say anything about police dog training, people will click on anything, and you might be paying $4 to $6 or more per click. You want to add that to your negative keyword list, right? And so what we do is we run a shared negative keyword list, so that not only does it block it out for our client in Miami, but it immediately blocks it out for your friends in Virginia and my clients in Los Angeles and everywhere else in the United States and Canada, because we know from experience that if we see that type of search coming through in one market, within a couple of weeks, it's going to come up in another market. And if it's already blocked out, then you're not wasting that $4 to $6 on that click.
Yeah, so that's a big thing, because and you don't want the ad to show at all, even if they don't click on it, right? Because that's an impression without a click, which reduces your click-through rate, right?
You're exactly right.
Yeah. So that's negative keywords, folks.
Right.
Well, Adam, we got to take a brief sponsor break. When we come back, we're going to ask Adam, what's a typical day look like for him and how he stays motivated. So folks, I'm down on my hands and knees begging you to check out a particular webinar or pass it on to somebody that could use it. I mean, it has to do with higher education. If you're considering getting retrained because you hate what you're doing, or you want a better life for yourself or your family, or maybe you have kids or nephews, nieces, or even neighbors who are wondering if they should burn up hundreds of thousands of bucks going to college or university and then end up broke with mountains of debt and no marketable skills, well, you just may want to watch this webinar. It's not me just hawking my school. It's some high-level education people showing you all the things that colleges and universities are doing to rip you. They're raising the tuitions, and they're artificially inflating the grade point averages to make people think that they're smarter when the testing shows they're actually dumber. And I don't know if I'd want to mortgage my house for this, to pay for this. And they did studies, over 2,000 kids in a bunch of different universities. They're spending an average of 8 hours per week total preparing and going to class. The rest of the time is eating, partying, and shopping. Like I said, I don't know if I'd want to mortgage my house for that. So if we can help you with a fast skill that's in high demand, please get in touch with me. But watch that thing over at screwthecommute.com/webinars, or you can just screwthecommute.com and click on webinars. You can either download the audio or watch the actual webinar. And then if I can help you, give us a call. All right, let's get back to our main event. Adam Katz is here. And Adam, what is a typical day look like for you in your lifestyle business?
Myself and my wife, we wake up at 5:30 a.m. every single morning. Every single morning. My wife is a dedicated, devoted runner, and she has the discipline of a Japanese samurai. And so even if I didn't want to get up, we'd be getting up at 5:30 a.m. Get up, have breakfast. I try and run about 3 miles every third day, and then the days that I'm not running, typically walking 2 miles with the dog in the morning.
Even if you have your headache?
Yep. I'll skip the running if I have a migraine, but I walk at least 2 miles a day, every single day, even with the migraine. It's just, I think it's really important. It's important to keep your weight down. And
see, I'd be telling her, "Oh, honey, I got my migraine today. Sorry, I have a headache.
Right.
You run."
Right.
Let me know.
It's usually the wife that says I've got a headache, right?
Yeah, I know.
So, but especially with an online-based business where you're sitting in front of a computer all day long, taking care of your health, and getting some activity, some movement is really important. And then spend the entire morning pretty much just working on the business, and then lunch, a quick nap, and then the rest of the day just working on the business.
Oh, you get a nap every day. That's good.
You got to sneak in. It's really important, right? I mean, otherwise you might as well just go get a job. If you can't take a little nap. It's funny, actually.
A lot of employees I've seen are napping.
Yeah, I had a roommate in college who had one of these high-priced lawyers internships, right? Where she was getting paid like $1,000 a week as an intern, right? And
wow.
she told me like it was so boring that after lunch she'd come back into our office and she'd climb under the desk and take a little nap. And we figured it out, and like her 20-minute nap was like $120 nap based on what they were paying her. And it's like, oh my God.
That's a pretty good price for a nap.
Yeah. But I never wanted to be in that position, where like you're in some office and the fluorescent lights are burning off your vitamins, and like you come back from lunch and you're a little bit sleepy, and all you want is to just close your eyes for just 10 minutes, but you can't because the boss man's right on top of you telling you have to do this, you have to do that.
Yeah,
so,
and the place is full of people that are sick and germs everywhere.
Yeah. Now to be fair, the downside is that I also work a lot in the evenings and I work a lot on weekends too. But that's more because of the migraine condition. I need to take advantage of the hours when I don't have migraines to really maximize my efficiency.
So how do you stay motivated?
Fear, extreme fear of poverty. I'm paranoid with worry that the economy is going to change and who knows, we're going to lose everything. And so for me, I'm on a constant mission to acquire more skills and improve my skills, because you could lose everything tomorrow in some freak thing. Who knows? The IRS mistakes your name for somebody else, and next thing you know, your account's closed and things snowball. Who knows? But if you have skills, especially if you have marketable skills, and you know how to persuade people and you know how to get people to take action, those can't be taken away from you. And so I'm always on a journey to acquire more marketable skills and improve the skills that I have.
Well, that's called Kaizen, and continuous improvement, continuous learning.
That was a book, right? Do you remember that book from the 80s?
Yeah, I think it's also a principle in Japan.
Right.
That's where I heard of
it. That was
in
a lot of Toyota and a lot of the Japanese companies that were really kicking butt in the 80s they were saying was because of that.
That's for sure. Well, thanks so much for sharing your story with us. Like this is just a perfect example of how an online business can be a lifestyle business and work around a debilitating affliction. I just never knew this about you, but again, you got the job done, and so how would I know, right?
Right.
It's not like you're shirking your duties, but you've set up a business that you can get it done and work around this problem. So that's I really applaud you for that, because I've only heard wonderful things about your service.
Thank you, very kind. And I think anytime you have somebody who has I hate using the word handicap, but as a condition, it almost makes you want to work harder to make sure that you're doing a good job and you're pleasing your customers and you're getting them the quality of service that they're paying for. So that's just really, really important to me.
Well, you sure got it down. So thanks so much for coming on, and tell them how they get a hold of you if they need any of your services.
Sure. Best thing to do would be go to dogtrainertoolbox.com. Even if you're not a dog trainer, you might want to take a look at the website, just kind of see what we're doing. We have a number of different information products specifically to help dog training business owners. But I think even if you're not, you might get some ideas about how you can run your own information publishing business. And specifically for the Google Ads service, you can go to Browning Direct, BROWNINGDIRECT /ads. That's ADS. So Browning.
So could like a dentist come to you, or
absolutely
a landscaper, or something like all those people.
Any local business really that gets clients from their local community.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Adam, and
my pleasure.
Looking forward to hearing more great things from you. What's that?
It's been an honor and a privilege, sir.
Oh, my pleasure. All right, so everybody, that was Adam Katz. Make sure you check out, if you want to listen to this again, episode 206. So you go to screwthecommute.com/206, and we'll have the links to all his stuff in there and anything else we talked about. And I will catch you all on the next episode. See you later.